So welcome to the latest episode of the Talking Balls podcast, the snooker podcast. Comes out with you every Wednesday morning. And I'm your host, Michael Wright, on Twitter as Wright874. And as usual, my co-host is just in the corner as I look, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, hi everyone, it's Lee here. Welcome to another episode.
And our guest, well, it's someone we're looking forward to hearing more from. We'll hear from himself about how he feels the season went, but he made his Crucible bow this season and fought his way through very well through the qualifiers, got some notable scalps. And we're talking tonight to Ashley Hugill. So welcome, Ashley.
Hi, good to see you. How's it going?
And you, good to see you, and thanks for sparing time with us. We're always grateful. So it's really nice to see you. And I guess just to get us rolling, it'd be interesting just to hear your kind of thoughts post-season. We're recording this in June, and obviously not that long ago, the Crucible. I don't know if it feels like a long time ago, but how do you look back when you look back at the season overall?
Yeah, obviously it was amazing finish for me to the season. Up to that point, it was just fairly solid. I was sort of fighting for my tour survival most of the season. And it came down to the World Championships. I was in a pretty solid position going into World Championships, but I still needed a couple of wins to be sure. And then obviously to finish off at the Crucibles, a big target of mine and a big goal to play there. So that really just sort of put the cherry on the cake in regards to my tour survival was secured, and then finished the season at the Crucible was amazing.
Yeah, it was the last couple of years, Ashley, you've really came to the fore, I think. When you have been getting beaten some tournaments, you've been just losing by the odd frame, getting really close and by some, and you've beaten some quality players on the way.
Yeah. I started last season really strongly. I think the first tournament of the season, I beat Kyron. I think that was my first win on the TV table. So that was a goal that I'd set myself to that last season to get a win on the table one, barring the shootout. Obviously, I don't really count that. I've won quite a few matches in that, but it's just not the same. So that really sort of got my season going. And then just after that, I lost a few deciders, and I sort of felt like it had took my momentum out of the season building up. But then towards the end of the season, it was after the UK Championships, I sort of went on quite a run where I won a lot of my opening matches. And when you're fighting for your tour card, that makes all the difference. So, yeah.
I was wondering about that, actually, because I was looking at your results and as you say, you've had lots of deciders, and I wondered what you thought about the shorter matches. So obviously we kicked off with, after the Championship League, we had the British Open, which was a bit controversial in that a lot of people felt that for a big prestige tournament, it was very short matches. Have you got any view on that? The length of matches. Do you find you get more out of yourself if you've got more time?
I do. In terms of the way I play the game, I feel like longer matches almost suit me in the respect that I can dig in and I never give up and I'm never beaten. I'll always fight back. But in terms of experience, I have a lot more experience in the shorter matches, the best of sevens especially, but then best of nines and best of 11s as well. I've got a lot more experience in the shorter format matches, but then I feel like I can sort of play both. Even though I don't have that much experience in like the best of 19s, it suits the way I play because I never really give up and I can always fight back from behind.
Yeah, and as I say, the World Championship this year, a great way to finish the year off, and you don't expect any easy matches at the Crucible, but you couldn't have got a harder match, really, could you?
Yeah.
And Joe Robertson, but I thought you acquitted yourself really well in that match.
Yeah. It was obviously the toughest draw. He was the tournament favourite, but in a way, I was happy with the draw. When I played there, I wanted to be the centre of attention. And I didn't want to play someone where I wasn't guaranteed to be the main table. I wanted to play one of the favourites, one of the best players in the world. And then I can really soak it up and be the centre of attention, because it's not often lower ranked players get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, you seem to deal with the situation very well. I mean, a lot of players in that situation could probably fold a bit, but you were making breaks and you dealt with it really well, I thought.
Yeah. I was surprised how comfortable I felt, actually. I felt really comfortable straight away. In the first frame, I actually missed a long red, and Neil, I think he made 130 odd, but I was sort of sat there, and in hindsight, sitting there and watching him make that break, it just gave me 10 minutes while he cleared up, just to take everything in and settle down and get the sort of walk on out the way and those emotions, and then I could just get into the game. And like Neil making 130 first visit, it's no surprise to me. It's not like, oh, look how well he's playing. He does that every match. So what difference does it make? I knew he was going to do that. So it just sort of gave me 10 minutes to settle down. And then when I did get my chance in the next frame, I had the composure to win the frame when I got the chance.
You talked, you talked to BBC and other people around. Obviously, there was quite a lot of interest in your progress. And being it was your kind of Crucible bow, really, but presumably, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear more from you, but certainly some of the guests we've had on are people that are in your corner. So you've mentioned Matt Andrews before, working on the kind of performance and the behavioural side of things and working on that. And then obviously somebody who needs no introduction, Ian McCulloch, who we've had on as well. So some really sound guys in your corner there. I wonder how much or how they helped you in terms of preparing as well.
Yeah, it's been a work in progress with Matt and Ian for the last 4 or 5 years. I started working with Ian the first Q school we worked together. I actually got through, and then as I was coming off the tour after my first 2 years on the tour, starting my second year, I started working with Matt. Ian got me in contact with Matt and said, "Oh, speak to Matt, see if he can help you as well. See if he can sort of probably say a similar thing, but a different way of saying it. So sort of coming in from a different angle." And and we've been working together for, like I say, 4 or 5 years now. And I wouldn't be where I am today without them. There's no question. I think it's when you're winning matches and you're achieving things you want to achieve, it's easy, but you need them people when it isn't going right. And when I fell off the tour and when I had low confidence and when I wasn't getting the results I wanted, that's when it's massive to have people in your corner like that to pick you up and send you on the right path to get back to where you want to be.
So what would you have said that you needed to work on most, Ashley? Was it maybe sort of sitting in your seat? You know, you can sort of lose a match sitting in your seat waiting. Was it just purely sort of mental side?
I've always been quite a hard worker. Ian's massive on hard work, as you'll know, but I was massive on that even before I sort of started with Ian. But I remember my first 2 years on the tour, I lost a lot of matches sat in my chair, actually. But that's not something I really do anymore. I feel like I win matches there now. Where some players might crumble. I don't tend to do that anymore. But it's so important, the mental side of it. You see so many players in practice just working on their cue actions and doing long shots all day, but you don't see them working on their mind. And for me, that's much more important. Once you get to a certain level where you can make 70 every visit, it doesn't matter how you cue the ball. It matters about being in control of your emotions when you've got to clear up to win. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, Matt and Ian have been a big part of developing me into being able to do that and to not lose matches in my chair and to be ready when I get a chance and to trust myself.
It's interesting you say that, it's hard as a viewer to know how a player feels under the spotlight at the Crucible, and you say that you almost lapped it up because it was you were in the in the limelight. Is that something that's given whet your appetite now? As it's made you think, actually, that was a really good fun experience. That's where I ought to be. Is it? Do you think it almost pushes you into another level in terms of your expectations now?
Yeah, you have to be careful with expectations, I feel like. You don't want to succumb to the pressure of expectation. You can't think, oh, now I've got to the Crucible, I need to be winning this match and winning that match and doing this and that. You've still just got to play it one match at a time and still just keep working hard and keep doing the right things and putting yourself in them positions. But I almost feel like that's gone now. Like the Crucible was amazing and I know I have to play there again because it's a tournament like no other. I've never experienced anything like that in terms of the way a tournament's run and the venue and the setup. It's all perfect. So I know I have to play there again, but I also feel like I need to draw a line under that experience now and forget about it and start again and keep going. I don't want to be dining out on that performance for half of this next season coming up. It's back to work now.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to keep your goals realistic, and I think when you get on the tour, I think you've got to sort of serve an apprenticeship. Getting on the tour, you know, new people coming on the tour, they tend to drop off, but you know, once they're back on, they've got all that experience under their belt, and what you've went through the last season or two, that's got to help you enormously.
Yeah, definitely. There's not many players that get on the tour and establish themselves straight away. I feel like most players drop off like I did, and either they'll get straight back on or they'll have a year or two away to rebuild your confidence and then make it pay the next time you get on the tour. So that just happens to be how it worked out for me. But yeah, it seems to be like that for quite a few players.
It always, again, I mean, I think, you know, Lee is a player and knows more about this stuff, but it always amazes me when I kind of hear from people and talk to people all at different rankings in the tour, because it sounds as a fan as if all of you are almost capable of beating each other in terms of just ability. You know, if you can get a 140 in a tournament or whatever, or over 140, then you can beat anybody, surely. So it's almost that, unlike a lot of sports, the skill and the ability is there to beat the best, but there's something that marks people out, isn't there? You've got the ability, and it's what turns you from that player who has got that, but is losing the odd decider here and there and trying to battle through. What kind of super fast you up into that kind of top 10? What's the difference?
So you mean what's the difference between the top 10 and the rest of the tour?
I guess so, yeah, I guess so, because I think in theory it looks to me as if everybody on their day could beat each other, but obviously the consistency and being able to always operate at that top level, then it seems to take something very extra and different.
I think talent comes into it to a certain extent. You have to be able to pot the balls and make the breaks, and you have to be able to play under the pressure. But after that, I feel like what separates the very top players from the rest of the tour is how many things they're doing right. Like I look at players with amazing talent and they aren't winning, or they aren't getting out of the game what they should be. And you have to put it down to there's a few things they're either not practicing, they're not keeping fit, or something's going on in their private life, maybe, I don't know, drinking, gambling, things like that, like the vices. If you see a player with great talent and they're not winning, there's only a few things it can be, because like class is permanent. So I just think a lot of those top players, they're doing a lot of things right, more than a lot of the rest of the tour will be doing.
And it's always seemed to me, Ashley, you know, as Michael says, any of the guys on the tour can clear up a frame and win a frame. But I think what separates them is their mental strength, really, and sort of closing out the win and dealing with the high pressure situations when they come along.
Yeah, I was speaking to Jan about this the other day. I practiced with Jan quite a lot, and I was speaking to him about the game, and he was saying it took him a while to realise, or it takes people a while to realise, that when you lose a match, the sky isn't going to fall in. But to a lot of players, especially lower down the rankings, sometimes it feels like that. Like you feel like the sky's going to fall in when you lose, and it just isn't. But when you work so hard at the game and it means so much to you, it can often feel like that. But that pressure you put on yourself, that's what's stopping you from achieving the goals you want to achieve.
And I suppose now, you know, it's easier to maybe forget that loss and move on, because generally there's another tournament just around the corner. The calendar's so packed full.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. Even with the calendar hit by COVID, it's still a good calendar. There's still, like you say, there's still a tournament every couple of weeks, so you can't really complain. Compared to how it was 10, 15 years ago, it's night and day.
One of the things that some of the players have said when they've been on about trying to work their way up through the ranks was just the harsh reality of the finances. And you know, and I think this gets debated a lot on social media with the fans as well, about, you know, what you should get for going to a tournament, what you should get for appearing, and almost that thing of, it seems harsh to go out in the first round and really not get much for it, and you know, your whole livelihood is reliant on your progress. It's points makes prizes, don't they? Have you any views on that? I mean, that must be quite hard when you're scrapping around.
Yeah, that the financial pressure is another thing what you have got to learn to deal with, the financial pressure of playing for such big money when you low down the rankings. But yeah, I think I wouldn't make it profitable even if you lost if you lose in the first round. I don't feel like it should be profitable, but maybe if you can break even at least and not come away with a loss, and there is only 128 professionals in the world, it doesn't seem like it's too much to ask that if you're on the tour, you don't make a loss at each event you go to, even if it's just £300 or £400 for each event. That'll cover your expenses for most of the events. I feel like that'd be a start. I see some players thinking it should be thousands and thousands. I don't feel like that's realistic. And also, you're going to get people who are being lazy then. Barry always says about how he wants it to be cutthroat so that people are trying their absolute heart out. And I think he has a point to a certain extent. So I think just a few £100 would be a start, just to cover your expenses. I think that's where it needs to start, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly tough for the new people coming on tour, if you like. You know, they could go a run, they get Ronnie, Neil, Higgins, you know, they could just be unlucky with the draw, and they've nothing to show for that, you know. So it's quite brutal at times. Yeah,
but that's professional sport. Barry always says it should be brutal, doesn't he? But it is tough down the rankings when you first start out, without a doubt. I feel like if you don't have the support of your family, or unless you're supremely talented, you are up against it at the start of your career, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think he's famed for saying something like he doesn't want to reward mediocrity or something, does he? But yeah, it seems a bit harsh, but yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about Ronnie. It's hard not to talk about snooker and not talk about Ronnie, isn't it? But you mentioned him there, and I was just looking at you last season there, and what struck me obviously was, I mean, the European Masters was the big one for you during the season, I think. 5-1 win in your first game. You got Jack Lazowski, you tucked him away 5-3. Ali Carter 5-1. I mean, you know, stunning result. 5-2 to O'Sullivan. How was I don't know if you think much about your games afterwards, or whether Matt or Ian encourage you to do that or not, but is there anything that you take from playing against him in you know, the last 16 of one of the tournaments like that?
Yeah, just again how good I felt out there. And when I got the chances, I took them against him, because he played really well that day, actually. I had a friend who was there most of the week watching, and he was saying to me before, like, he'd watch my match and he was like, oh, Ronnie ain't playing, like, I know he's winning, but he isn't playing as well as what he usually can. Like, he isn't playing. And then first shot against me, I think he had 141. I was like, oh, he's playing today. So, but no, I sort of held my own, made a couple of breaks myself. But I think that he said some nice things, actually, after we played. I seen an interview he done, just a little 4 or 5 minute interview, just saying like I was the most improved player he'd seen on the tour, and that I reminded him of Anthony Hamilton. And yeah, he said some nice things, and he actually said to me after my match that I should aim for the top 16 and that I have a good game. And it really gave me a boost for the rest of the season. When the best player that's ever picked up a cue says some nice things about you, it sort of stays with you. So yeah, no, that was a big confidence boost, like when it was really getting down to the nitty gritty in the end of that season, and I had to win matches to stay on the tour. yeah, it was nice.
And you did that as well, didn't you? I mean, you did kind of pick up some good results, and then you got through the qualifiers, which for the Crucible, which are always really interesting to watch. You know, the way that they cover it now with all the multi-tables you can watch and see you go through the rounds. I don't know how it feels for you, but I mean, again, looking at talent and who you beat on the way there. I mean, 6-0 against Dean Young. You must have felt good that day.
Yeah, that was sort of the match where I knew if I won that match, I was sort of 70 or 80% safe. I knew if I lost it, I'm off the tour. I knew if I won it, I've got half a chance where I might not need to win another game, depending on other results. And yeah, I just sort of played solid. I was in control of my emotions. That was the main thing. Dean had just had a good win against was it Ben Hancorn? I think he beat Ben Hancorn in his opening game, and I remember thinking how I'd played the previous year, and I'd won my opening game, and it was really, really big money for me at the time. And I was sort of putting myself in his shoes, thinking he'll be feeling how I was feeling last year. And it was almost like it's such a relief to win your opening game and get that big money that he might have just took his eye off the ball a little bit and just be so relieved to get a win, because Dean had hardly won a game for the season. And that had been his biggest paycheck. I was realising how he'd feel, because I'd felt that the same way before. So I sort of thought, if I can just start well, I thought I had a really good chance, because I thought he might have just took his eye off the ball a little bit. Not through like overconfidence or anything, just pure relief from probably his target will have been win that first game, get some good prize money and go from there. So, but yeah, I just played solid. I think the first frame he got in and made 30 odd and missed, and he left me a really tough red, and I ended up potting it and clearing up to go 1-0 up. And then that sort of just set the tone. He sort of never settled after that. And I as it happened in that match, I thought I was going on late, and I nearly missed the start of the match. Just as I was coming out of the toilet to go back into the players' lounge, Dean and the referee were walking to the table, and I was just coming out of the toilet. I didn't even have my cue. And I think the referee was Ben Williams, and he was looking at me saying, "Where's your cue? Where's your cue?" And I was like, "Oh, it's in the players' lounge." But I don't think he was allowed to stop walking, because he's walking to the match, so he can't wait for me. It's not fair on Dean, so he had to keep walking away. And I just raced into the players' lounge, grabbed my cue, ran back, and caught up to him. So that was a bit of a hair-raising moment, because I think the match before me, it didn't finish while about 20 past 2. So and I was checking it all the time, so I was certain we were going to go on late. But he got the table cleaned and set the balls up in like 5 minutes, and we were going on time. And then I was literally a minute off missing the start of the match because I was in the toilet, and I just expected we'd be going on 10, 15 minutes late. So yeah, it was a bit of a funny one.
And after that match against Dean, Ashley played Martin Gould. That was a fantastic win. Obviously, it's a class 6-5, really close game. Yeah,
I was actually 5-2 down in that game. I won 6-5. The thing I was most proud about in that match was the way I felt. I've never felt so bad going into a match. I was actually sick the night before. I'd got a bit of food poisoning. I'm not sure what I'd got it from. I think I might have cooked a bit of bad onion, and I was sick in the middle of the night before, and I must have been on the toilet 10 times. And I've never felt so bad going into a game. I went to practice. I think we was on at 7 p.m. and I had a practice booked from 6 to 6:30, and it got to 10 past 6, and I couldn't carry on. I had to just go sit down. I didn't feel like I had any strength. So like I said, I've never felt so bad going into a game, but it sort of took the pressure off a bit, because going into the game, I wasn't even certain I'd be able to finish it. But after I had to sit down after 10 minutes practice, I was thinking, I'm going to do well to even get through this match without saying I can't carry on. So obviously that took all the pressure off. I didn't expect anything. And then as the match went on, I started to sort of feel a bit better. I think I was 3-0 down, and then I won the frame before the interval to go 3-1, and sort of just gave myself a bit of a chance. And then after the interval, I started to feel a bit better. And then somehow ended up digging it out 6-5. I think it was about 1 a.m. in the morning when we finished. From 5-2 down, I think I played 3 perfect frames, and 1 frame I won on the pink or on the black, where it was like I rode my luck a little bit. I had a few flicks and nudges where if a one shot went another way, I'd have lost 6-4. And then the other 3 frames, I don't think he got a chance in them.
So fine lines, definitely fine lines.
I'm gonna take you right back to the Crucible again, because I'm always really interested in how players find the differences in terms of the way it's set up, the way just as simple as the fact that in most of your tournaments you sat away from each other, but then at the Crucible you sat next to each other on the 2 table setup. I mean, I don't know how you found that. I mean, when you watch Neil Robertson play, he tends to look very focused. He doesn't look the most chatty person anyway. But how do you find that? Sat next to your opponent when you're at the Crucible.
I never really thought about that, actually. Yeah, I was just sort of in the moment getting on with it at the time. But I guess I've not been sat next to an opponent before. But I never really thought about that, actually. I was just sort of playing and focusing on the table. I didn't really consider it too much.
It probably tells us all we need to know, though, really, doesn't it? Because it is just that thing that you're there doing your work, and that's that's what you're focused fully on. You don't even always notice stuff around you, I suppose.
I think so. I must have been focused in. Because I didn't even consider it, I don't think.
How did you get into snooker, Ashley? We always ask this of players. We haven't asked you this yet, but taking it right back to when you were younger and getting into the sport, how did that happen?
So my dad always watched it. He loved watching the snooker on the TV, and then he played a bit of pool. I think he played pool at like a county level, but he loved pool, and we got a pool table in a shed at home when I was about 8 or 9, and I used to just play on it from time to time. And then I sort of got more into it the longer it was there. My dad was always wanting to play, so I played pool with my dad from then, and then showed a bit of promise. And I think the first time I played on a snooker table, I was about 11, and I used to have to. My parents used to have to take me to York, because there wasn't any tables in Melbourne where we're from. So it's like a half an hour drive in. So I think I used to play once a week from when I was about 11. And then, just loved it, and was constantly nagging my dad to get a table at home, because we had like loads of like sheds and outbuildings at my parents' house. So I was like, oh, can we not get a snooker table? And then in the end, I nagged enough, and he actually had another, like a purpose-built room built when I was about just turning 13, I was. And then from then, I sort of knew that's what I wanted to do. Like, my dad had built this room for me, and he expected me to practice. So I used to do 2 hours every night after school. I used to do 2 hours every day. And then, just went from there.
So what about your practice, Ashley? Do you always practice at the academy, or do you have a table in the house?
So I moved out from my parents 3 or 4 years ago. Right. So now I'm based in Victoria's Academy. I don't play. I think the last time I played at my parents was just before the WSF in Malta, when I was an amateur, because I wanted to practice leading up to that tournament. But I always go back to my parents over Christmas.
Right.
So I had my table recovered, and then I really put the hours in over Christmas leading up to that WSF Open, and then I won that in Malta, and that got me back on the tour. But since then, I've not played there since. So I'm just in Victoria's, and then I travel to play people as well.
But what a great place to be, Victoria's Academy. Obviously, they've had a great deal of success recently with Zhao Xingtong and Jan, obviously. It must be great
Fan
to get
Yi winning the European Masters.
Yeah, absolutely. It must be great to get matches with all those guys.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Not just how good of players they are, but how nice of people they are as well.
Yeah.
And how nice Victoria is. The atmosphere in there. It's like a little family. It's like a small family, and you can tell when you go in there, everyone's helping everyone else, and everyone wants everyone else to win. I think some places you go to, it's not like that. Like different clubs or different academies, I feel like everyone isn't always pulling in the same direction from my experience, but I feel in there you are, and that's what sets it apart from other practice facilities.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do in practice, Ashley? Would you like do sets, maybe, and maybe solo practice as well?
I'd usually get in the morning, sort of around 9 o'clock, do a few hours solo practice, and then when Jan or Xing Tong turns up or any of the other guys, I'll just ask them for a few games, and then we'll have a couple of sets, and that's my usual routine. So yeah, an hour or two solo in the morning and then play for the rest of the day.
So how long have you been at the academy?
4 years. Yeah, I think about 4 years. Yeah.
Right. So
Before that, I was in Star Academy. Since I've been on the main tour, I've been at Victoria's. My first year on the tour, I still played at my mum and dad's, and then my second year on the tour, I fell off for a year, and the next 2 years, I've always been in Victoria's. So, that's what I've been doing.
And it must be great. Obviously, you'll be really sharp going into all your matches. And as we said before, Ian and Matt in your corner as well. You've really got it covered.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate. I've got a great team, and even almost like Victoria's part of that as well. Like she's part of that team that I feel like I have around me that's just perfect. And then it's just down to me to put the hard work in, which I like to do. So it seems like a perfect combination.
We did. I mean, when we met Neil Robertson, you're talking there about overseas players kind of getting used to playing in Europe and playing in this country, going to the other side of the world, as a lot of the guys, the Chinese players are. Do they make a lot of effort in terms of trying to, help them with the social side of, I don't know how much you see of that, but almost the social side of living in England and getting used to the differences in cultures between, being in China and being over here for their livelihood?
Yeah, I think the Asian players really like being in Sheffield because there's 2 universities here, and there is actually a really big Asian community in Sheffield. I think it's only second behind London for certainly for Chinese. I think there's 30,000 Chinese students in Sheffield. So I feel like the Chinese snooker players here, they don't feel quite as homesick as what they would in a smaller town or city without that community. I think it almost feels like a home from home for them. They have like lots of friends, Chinese friends here, and even if they don't speak much English, they can still get by. Like a lot of them speak good English, and their English is always getting better. But it's like you want to speak your own language, don't you? You don't always want to have to speak a foreign language. It doesn't make you happy. So I feel like it's perfect for them in Sheffield they can take in the English culture, and obviously they have to be in the UK, but also they have a lot of friends, and they have a big group of people here who they can interact with.
And someone else who you've mentioned before, I think, when kind of doing a bit of digging, a bit of research, and I think he's mentioned you as well. Unfortunately, off the tour now, but Michael Holt. I mean, I'm in Nottingham, and he's obviously a local player here. And you've mentioned Hamilton as well from Nottingham, but it sounds like you've done a bit with Michael, and he was helpful at stages of your career as well.
Oh, massively, yeah. When I first got on the tour, and even over the last few years, he's probably been the player I've travelled to most to play. And obviously, when I first got on the tour, I think he was near the top 16. He was certainly in the top 32. So for him to allow me to go and practice with him when I'm learning from him, I can learn loads from him, but he couldn't learn that much from me. I really appreciated that. And it was so good of him. I've always respected him massively for that. and not only just going and playing him and picking balls out for him, but also when I'm playing, I could ask him about shots, and he's happy to sort of show me the right shot from the wrong shot, and just talk about the game in general as well. And not only that, he's a great guy off the table as well. Like when we went at lunch, we speak about so many different topics. He's such an interesting person. So he's been really helpful in my career without a doubt.
I think Lee knows Ian better than I do, and I think, but certainly when meeting him on here, what really shone for me was, well, the work ethic. It sounded like he puts a lot of stock on hard work, but also just the positive. He just seemed so very positive and very kind of, get out there, you make things happen, it's all on you, but in a really thoughtful and positive way. And you kind of think, with somebody like that who plays and knows the game, plus Matt, I can see why you feel like you've got a really good support there, and plus the academy. So it must, I don't know, I kind of feel sorry for people who haven't got that much in their corner, actually, because it sounds like you've got a great template to work from.
Yeah, it's still tough, but I can't imagine how tough it is for the players that don't have that setup that I have. I'm so fortunate to have that. And I try and represent them as well as I can, and I'm so grateful for sort of the efforts they put in to help me. So I'm just hoping I can show some really good results on the table and make them proud, and show them some respect for that. I mean, I know how tough it is, because when I first started with Ian, and then I was falling off the tour, and then I started speaking with Matt, how low my confidence was at that time. If I didn't have Matt to turn to and speak to about the psychology of the game, I'm not sure I would have got back. I'm not sure I would have got back on the main tour, because it was such a big process to rebuild. Not even rebuild my game. My game was just slowly getting better, just rebuilding my mind and my confidence. It's almost more important than your game. As long as you work hard, your games will slowly get there. So Ian's Ian's my mentor. Like, he keeps me on the straight and narrow. He keeps me working hard. And then Matt's my psychologist, who keeps my head in the right place after really tough losses, or even after big wins. After big wins, he won't let you just, like I say, sit back and dine out on a big win. You just get on with the next one. You're a professional snooker player. Your job's to win snooker matches. That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, you obviously, we're not asking you for trade secrets or insights into what you get told. We tried that with Noel Flannery, and that didn't quite work. Although I think he told Lee something off camera, but we'll never repeat that.
Yeah, I'm sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, we can't talk about that. But yeah, I'm just curious, really, I guess, as to, I don't know your process with them. Do you have them sometimes in the audience, kind of watching, or picking
That's
up?
Actually, quite rarely.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. Actually, the first time, Ian's only watched me play a few matches. Obviously, at the Crucible, he was there, which was a massive help, using his experience there to sort of look after me, because it can become a bit of a circus with everything going on and everyone wanting your time and all that. So that was good to have Ian there for that. So obviously he saw that match. But other than that, I can't really recall. And then the first time, there's a funny one with Matt. The first time he ever watched me play live, we'd been working together for about a year, 18 months. The first match he watched, I made my first maximum. Yeah. So that was a funny one. The challenge tour in Leeds. Yeah, I'd never even made one in practice. I'd never made a maximum in practice. I had my first one in a match, and Matt was there. Yeah, Matt was there watching.
I was going to say about that, Ashley, because I felt it deserved a mention that it was 2019, your Challenge Tour match, and not only did you make a maximum, but your opponent never potted the ball, never scored the point.
Yeah,
it's quite incredible.
Yeah. That was just starting the rebuilding process at that point. My confidence, that was actually, thinking back now, that was a big point in rebuilding my confidence, making that 147. I had a lot of doubts at that time as like whether I could earn a living and support myself playing snooker. I still wasn't sure. And I feel like that just gave me the confidence boost that I am a really good player and I can do this. And and from making that maximum, after that, I didn't actually win that event. But then after that event, I think I won 3 out of the next 7 events I played. I think I won a challenge tour. Let me try. Yeah, I won the next challenge tour in Bruges. And then I went something like semi-final, quarter-final. Then I won the WSF in Malta. And then straight after that, I won another challenge tour. And it all stemmed from that maximum, actually, just building my confidence up. And then I went on a run. And after that, my confidence was back. Yeah.
Just shows you, one achievement, and it just sparks it off for you.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's such fine margins, even in the way you think and the way you feel. Like I might not have gone on that run if I missed the yellow on 120 or I missed the last red light. You don't know. You never know where the next turn's taking you. And that's the thrill of this sport. That's the thrill of being in sport. It's amazing.
And just going back to the maximum, how were you feeling clearing those colours up at the end?
Oh, I was shaking. Yeah. I was nervous. I think it was after I potted the yellow. I finished really bad on the yellow. I can't actually remember that much of the break. I aren't one of them players who can remember every shot I've played. I can hardly remember anything, but I just remember the last red was in balk, and I've potted it, come in and out of balk and landed straight on the black. I was a bit unlucky. And then I've mishit the black, I've screwed back, and I've just run past the pink. And I was going past the blue to pot the yellow into the yellow pocket, but I was sort of half hampered by the pink, like queuing over the pink, and I had to soft screw off 2 cushions for the green. So it was only a 3 or a 4 out of 10 at best. And I felt fairly calm till that point. But when I potted that, I was like, oh, it's on now. Like there's no excuse to not make it now. And then from that point, I was really, really nervous. But luckily, I landed like a foot behind the black, just off straight. So I remember when I potted the pink, I landed absolutely perfect on the black to where you couldn't miss it. And I just stood there and smiled for like 3 or 4 seconds. Like, oh, I've done it. I was so happy. And then I just potted it. Yeah. So that was my first ever one as well. The amount of times I'd missed on 80 in practice, like balls would be perfect. I'd done all the hard work and I'd just miss on 80 or something like that. So, good times.
Yeah, you've sort of got to conquer your mind, haven't you? To make
without a doubt.
And I guess you've talked a lot about people who've helped you, but I guess I'm interested as well as if any players in the past have inspired you. You know, if you've looked up to people, or as you're getting into the sport, there's certain people that you really like watching, or you've learned something from just watching them, or just admire them. But is there anyone in the sport that you've always, you've looked up to as you've started to get into the sport, perhaps?
Well, my first memory of the sport was Shaun Murphy winning the world title in 2005. I remember watching that. That's the first time I really got into a snooker match. And I just thought, I'd love to be out there playing on TV one day. And that's my first memory. And he was sort of my inspiration when I was really young. But I'd say more recently, it's actually the guys in the academy. Like, the amount of times I've been playing with Jan, and at first playing with Jan, like I'd be seeing him winning the Masters and I'd be competitive with him in practice and beating him in practice, and he's there winning the Masters. And then obviously Xing Tong as well, and then Fan Zhenyi, like seeing what they've achieved and seeing them winning tournaments and how I compete with them in practice, I think it's inspiring. It's inspired me massively to believe that one day I could win a tournament.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, and you see a lot of the insights into the academy, don't you? They're very good on social media, and they post a lot of videos, and a lot of people in practice, they're quite big on that, aren't they? In terms of being really available and letting you get an insight into it. I mean, they're very different types of players as well, aren't they? I mean, just the styles, I guess that Is it? Do you get to practice a lot with them, or I don't know how it works. Whether you have regular practice.
I mean,
partners.
everyone just plays everyone in Victorious. Yeah, there's no like cliques or no groups, or there's no people that won't play you. Everyone just plays everyone. But I seem to mainly just play Jan. Actually, I feel like he was always the best in the academy before, so I wanted to play with him. And even now, like Xing Tong's won a few big comps and he's higher ranked, I just still seem to always play Jan. And I feel like maybe even my game has sort of, I've picked up habits off him, and my playing style is a little bit similar to him, and that's just through playing him so much. And yeah, I don't know. And we're actually quite good friends as well, like off the table. So I think, yeah, we sort of have a similar outlook, a similar style of play. And yeah, I just always seem to end up playing Jan. So that's amazing for me to learn from him and just pick balls out for him, really.
And when you're playing Jan or anyone else in the academy, is it really competitive? Are you really playing to win? And as you would be.
Yeah. To be fair, that's probably another reason why I do like to play him, because he plays more seriously. A few of the other boys, they're not that bothered. Like they're playing, and they're obviously playing to an extremely high level, but they might be on their phone a bit, or they might have to make a phone call, or they might, I don't know. They might not always play the right shot. They're like, oh, it's only practice, I'll just go for this. Whereas Jan doesn't do that, and I don't want to do that. I want to always try and play the right shots and like respect the game. I sort of look at it as like, you've got to respect the game, and I feel like if I don't respect the game, it comes back to bite me. So I need to always play the right shots, or I feel like I can't play.
Yeah.
Almost like getting into the right habits so that it becomes just what you do, rather than having to switch it on.
Yeah, because it is enjoyable in practice to go really fast and to just run round and pot everything and lose my discipline. And when I'm playing great, that's great. But I always notice myself that if I'm starting to not play as well in practice, it's because I'm not respecting the game, because I've lost a little bit of discipline because I've been enjoying it too much and just running around potting everything. Whereas you've got to still respect the game and play as if you're playing a big match.
We're talking of big matches. I mean, one of the memorable ones for me was being Yang Bingtao with Mark Williams at the Crucible. Have you ever been tempted to bring a pigeon into practice since then?
Yeah, get a bit of wildlife next to the table. Never thought I'd see the day.
I know.
Did he ever talk about that? I'd be surprised if he's not said something about that at some point.
No, I don't think he has. He's one of them, Jan. Nothing phases him. He'd have carried on playing just with it there on side. He wouldn't have bothered it. He'd have just cracked on.
Like get it, like knock a ball between its legs if it's enough distance there. Just get on with
nutmeg.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, fascinating! It's really interesting to get that insight, because it sounds like it's a really quite a supportive environment for you to be playing in and practicing in. And is your home in York still? So
no. I actually I live in Sheffield now. Yeah.
Oh, you do, right?
Okay. I live in Sheffield. I've done for 3 or 4 years now.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So I was commuting before, living with my parents, but I just thought it didn't really make sense to be playing in Sheffield 4 days a week and having an hour and a half commute every day. So yeah, it made sense to move here. And yeah, like at the qualifiers for the World Championships as well, it's a good advantage to not be in a hotel. Like to the biggest tournament of the year on your doorstep. You can when I was playing Joe in the judgment day, on the judgment day, I actually came home in between sessions. We only had like an hour and a half. And I saw him there when I left in his suit. And when I come back, he was still there, just sat milling around. And I was like, that I've had an advantage there because I live here. I've gone home, had a shower, had something to eat, got changed and rushed back. Like, I was in a bit of a rush because I didn't have that much time, but still I managed to get a shower and get changed. And I must have felt better than him going into that last session after he's just sat there for an hour and a half waiting. So
But it must be good to sort of get out of the environment as well and let your mind just relax a little bit and get a bit of normality back into your life.
Yeah, that's it.
Even just for an hour or two.
Yeah, that's it, definitely. So no, it is good to be in Sheffield, and it is a nice little advantage in the biggest tournament of the year not to be in a hotel and for it just to feel like another day. These tournaments can get built up so much, and you're building up to it for months. You're there in the hotel, you're on your own. Your mind can be stewing, and if you don't it's just another day when you're at home. So it's a bit better.
Do you get? I don't suppose you get a great deal of time outside of practice, but do you get much time to do anything else, or have you got any other sport and interest or anything else that you like doing?
Over COVID, I did take up golf. I did start playing golf because I lived next door to my granddad, so we were sort of all isolating within one bubble, like 2 houses in one bubble, because we lived next door to each other, and we was actually looking after my granddad while we were going and buying his groceries and things like that. And he has a fairly big garden, and he's always been trying to get me into golf, and I've always been saying, I don't have enough time. I need to practice. I've got to do my practice hours. I can't be messing about playing golf. And then over COVID, he sort of got me into it. And then I have a couple of friends as well, Callum Beresford and Patrick Whelan. They're both Q School players. They're actually both quite good golfers, so they've coached me a bit as well. So over the last couple of years, I have took up golf. I mean, I'm still rubbish now, but I enjoy going around a field and trying to hit a ball, getting outdoors. I enjoy it.
And you've just been on holiday, haven't you? I think, looking at your Twitter.
I went to Rome for 5 days and then Montenegro for 5 days. Yeah, it was amazing, because I haven't actually holidayed outside of the UK that much before. Obviously, I've travelled a lot with snooker around. But actually holidaying, I've never really been that far. So it was nice a little reward for my efforts at the World Championships. Yeah.
Great, which will just spur you on to do it more, really, won't it?
Nice to get
that. Brilliant. I mean, it's one thing we like to do, Ashley, is we like to ask a bit of a quick fire round of questions.
Right. Okay.
And we call it clearing the colours. So we're gonna go through the colours in turn in the normal order.
Right.
And obviously, if you could answer with a decent answer, then you'll have potted that colour, and we'll get all the way to the black, all being well.
Right. Okay.
I'm not going to tell you there is one that's a tricky colour, but you're going to spot that one when it comes along.
Yeah.
Right. Am I on a timer or am I?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not the shootout. You'll be all right. No, it's all good. There's not a crowd shouting and singing your name out or anything. Not this one. So the yellow one, it's all about your opinion. To be honest, there's no right or wrong.
Okay.
We just wonder who you find the funniest player. We've had a variety of answers to this one. The funniest player that you've met.
I'd say probably Matt Selt. He's always really funny to listen to. Around the when you're overseas and you're all sort of congregating at breakfast, or you're there around the dinner table. He's always got a good story, or he always makes you laugh.
We've definitely
popular answer, isn't it, Mike?
We've definitely had them a few times, haven't we? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so that's yellow there, Ashley. We're on to the green. And what's your favourite venue away from the Crucible?
Ooh, I've been to the Tempodrome, but I haven't played there, so I don't know if I can say that because I've not played there. But I've watched there, and that looks amazing. But I've not actually played there. So can I say the Tempodrome, or do I need to pick a different one?
No, Tempodrome. That's fine.
I need to play there. It looks amazing. The German fans are always incredible as well.
Yeah, I think it'll just be a matter of time. But again, that's a popular answer, the Tempodrome.
Yeah.
So that's a green ball.
Well, to be fair, we get told off sometimes, Ashley, on that question, because when Lee says, apart from the Crucible, we occasionally say it to someone who hasn't played at the Crucible in one of the tournaments, and they'll go, well, I haven't even played there, so I don't know why you're saying don't.
Ali Pali actually looks amazing as well. I need to play at Ali Pali. That's a good target. I'll get there one day.
Absolutely.
Do you like playing at the Barbican, being back in your hometown?
Yeah, that's another great venue. That is another great venue. I didn't play in the front room though last season. I was a little bit annoyed at that. Because I won my first game in the back. I beat Mark Davis, and I thought I might have been in the front then. And then I had Hugh Long, and I thought the rule was anyone in the top 32 was in the front. And he was number 17 in the world, and they stuck me in the back again. I was like, wow. Now I've got to beat this lad to get in the front. So, but no, one of my first experiences on the tour, I was a top-up, and I played Sean Murphy in the Barbican just before I turned pro. And yeah, that was an amazing experience.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff. So that's the yellow and the green down. We're cooking. In terms of the brown then, so, and you can say yourself with this answer if you want, but it's up to you. What we're interested in is who you think the next person to win their first World Championship will be.
Next person to win their first World Championship. Jan.
Yeah,
without the aid of a pigeon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a popular answer too, Michael, isn't it? We've had Kyron a lot as well. But yeah, both definitely popular answers, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think interestingly, we've had Kyron a lot in the early part of the year, and then once the Chinese lads were starting to win ranking events more, we certainly had Xing Tong quite a few times.
Jan's game's suited down to the ground for the Crucible. He's made for that place, I feel like. So yeah, I feel like it'll be him.
Okay. So this may or may not be the tricky
right.
We've had a couple of answers. It's just been a straight. They've given us the answer, but it's which actor would you get to play you in a film of your life?
Oh my God! What sort of question's that? A film of my life?
It's a tricky blue.
Which actor? Tom Hanks. He can do it Forrest Gump style.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple of Tom Hanks as well. Yeah, it's a good pick.
Yeah, you made that. You made that look easy. We thought that bit struggle with that one. Might draw it a bit. Okay, right. That's the blue. So we're on to the pink. We're not far off now. Similar to the first question in terms of we're just quite interested as geeks to know more about, you know, how do people think of each other on the tour and things like that. Who's the nicest player? We've talked about the funniest. What about the nicest player, the all-round good egg that you just think, I really like them, I think they're cool?
Nicest player on the tour. The Thai boys are always really nice. I used to live with Nopon and Tep Chaya years ago, back when they were at Star Academy. Yeah, Tep Chaya and Dechuat's just got back on the tour, hasn't he? Poonjang's
that's
back,
right.
So that's good to see. Yeah, the Thai boys are always really, really nice people. Really, amazing people. So I'd just say one of the Thai boys, Nopon or Tep Chaya or Dechuat. Good
answer, definitely. We're probably a new one for us, that one.
Yeah. So Blackpool to clear up, Ashley, and I think this is just as tricky as the blue. Just as tricky. Right. So what would you call your autobiography if you wrote one?
Oh my God. Oh, I can't make that one look easy.
No.
Oh dear.
It's harder than your Black for the Maximum. Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. What would I call my autobiography? The Power of Now.
There we go.
Oh, was that Eckhart Tolle or someone, is it? Power of Now? Oh, you borrowed that one.
You got me.
No, what we do,
one.
What we do cheekily, we cheekily use the answer to that one is the bit of the kind of name of the episode. So we pop your name on and we use that.
Eckhart's getting a good plug. I need to message him.
Get some royalties.
Yeah.
Well, look, you've cleared the colours. You've made it look a lot easier actually than sometimes it is. So well done. And I think really, for me, it's just all remains is to really thank you for your time with us. I think it's been really fun. And what we always find on here is that I don't know, I'm sure Lee feels similar, that once we've met somebody in these groups, in these kind of sessions, that it really makes us look out for you a lot more in the future and want you to do really well. So that's where you've left it for me, really. I just really wish you well for next season. Well, I'm not going to ask you about your aims, because I get the feeling from an answer you said earlier about expectations that, you know, you're not thinking too hard about some of that. But I guess it's just about continual improvement. Yeah.
The ultimate aim is to win a tournament. That's the ultimate aim. Yeah.
Well, you've got the best team around you, Ashley, and you're a fantastic player. And just to echo what Michael says, thanks very much for your time. You've been really generous. And I'll be keeping an eye on your results, and all the best for next season.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Cheers, Ashley.